I had the privilege of sitting down with historian, scholar and author Ibn Warraq. Ibn has been writing about Islam and Muhammad for a long time. We took a deep dive into the history of Islam, the history of Muhammad, the evidence in the scripture.
You cannot leave your religion. It's a one-way ticket, You cannot leave Islam without being punished for it.
Where are the roots of that? Is that from the Quran? Is that from
it is
Hadith?
Interpretations of various verses in the Quran. I think I mention it in one of my books. It's in the Hadith as well, that apostates must be killed. They must be given a chance to recant, and then after the fourth occasion, then must be put to death. It is definitely there in the Quran. At moments I find that so-called moderate Muslims are really rather dishonest intellectually. They pretend that the real Islam is tolerant, that the real Islam is pro-women, real Islam is for freedom of expression. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And the fact that Islamic slavery was far worse than anything that happened in the West. The Atlantic slave trade, the Islamic slavery, they shipped 17 million, the top figure. Arabs shipped 17 million black Africans to the Middle East, to the Ottoman Empire, to Arabia, and further afield.
Over what period? That was
centuries earlier than anything that started by the Europeans. And abolition movement did not take root in the Islamic world. In the Ottoman Empire, there was firm resistance to it. Whereas it's very much a Western concept, abolition. It was very much a Western Christian initiative. People like William Wilberforce and Henry Thornton and so on. The Quakers especially, but it did not resonate with the Islamic world.
Can you paint a bit of a picture that for people who don't necessarily know Islam history?
The traditional dates to start the Islamic Empire began really at the death of the Prophet Muhammad. It was 632 AD. After Christ, and it spread very, very quickly to North Africa, then the Byzantine Empire, which was slowly taken over, and then they got as far as Poitiers in France, and they conquered most of Spain and so on. 12 million were shipped across the Atlantic. Do you know how many came to the United States?
About 200,000 or 300,000, right?
388,000, exactly. How many white people owned slaves? Something like just under 2% of the whites actually owned black slaves. Islamic countries have never, ever been asked to pay reparations.